The Pacific geoduck, or Panapia generosa, is a type of marine mollusk found throughout Alaska to Baja California. Geoduck is the largest burrowing clam in this region and can grow up to 10 pounds. They can be found within sediment in low intertidal and subtidal zones where they burrow through the sand up to 3 feet down. They're extremely long-lived animals, able to reach ages of over 150 years. Geoducks feed on plankton and a few natural predators, which contributes to their longevity. Geoducks are filter feeders, straining suspended matter in water. Some research suggests that this process contributes to the removal of excess nutrients from polluted ocean waters, such as nitrogen, which often ends up in the water as a consequence of agriculture. In addition to being ecologically important, geoducks are a valuable commercial resource, and they're harvested as a culinary delicacy. The commercial harvesting of geoduck is done by hand with specialized diving gear and a water jet to loosen the ground around the geoducks. This equipment, however, is not permitted for recreational harvest.
And that's the weather. Thank you very much, Ted. Now we go live to Donna on Keith Island at an archaeological dig on Nuchamu territory at the site of Kakmakamet in the Broken Group Islands of Vancouver Island's west coast. She's looking at how anthropologists are working alongside First Nations to help recover their history. Donna, take it away. Thanks for that, Brian. I'm Donna here reporting live on Keith Island, where we are taking part in an archaeological excavation. And I have here Professor of Archaeology. Would you like to say a few words? Yeah, so we are taking part in an archaeological excavation here on Keith Island, and it's quite something. Anthropology has the potential to really work alongside the ethnographic and oral histories and really support the indigenous stories. Yes, yeah. Continue. Now, until the courts can actually recognize oral histories as the sole evidence, like they did or said they would do in the Delgamuukw case, then anthropology will be here to provide some sort of evidence and backing. Yes. Okay, very interesting. Now, for one example, we have the evidence we've recovered from Keith Island here over 3 years of excavations, where we have found that the Sishat First Nation shellfish harvesting practices show a huge diversity in their shellfish taxa present and in the sustained use of these shellfish over time. They have continued to use a wide variety of shellfish, and this has held fairly substantial for a long time. That is fascinating. Okay, now what else? Would you care to elucidate on that?
Oh my God, I found something.
Maybe like pan out? Oh my Lanta, do you know what this is? This is a geoduck. This is groundbreaking. Pardon me. This is, to my knowledge, one of the first, if not the first, geoduck artifact found from the zooarchaeological record in Uchalnu territory. This. If significant things were insignificant, this would be the most insignificant finding we've ever had as far as geoducks are concerned.
I remember my 3 years spent among the indigenous of Washington State, where I gained first-hand experience of how they survived off the land. It was there that I first heard about smetar, or geoduck, as I will continue to call it, a massive clam of the utmost deliciousness. Upon my return home, I took what I'd learnt from among them and began hunting these curious bivalves. And oh, they were good.
You know, I've been coming out here since I was just a boy. When my grandpappy told me about these lands, he said they were rich in biodiversity. And so I needed to come out here and see it for myself. And boy howdy, I am very much happy that I did. For the water, she is beautiful. And the lands, they are.
People loved them so much that even the United States Fisheries Commissioner in 1881 came to my Puget Sound area and inquired into the possibility of setting up a fishery along the Atlantic. The commissioner wrote that the species would be of significant scientific and economic importance, and I wholeheartedly agree. For example, if one were to map out the locations of these geoducks in advance, a group of us would be able to capture a dozen or so during the next extreme low tide. A very profitable endeavor indeed. And thus, throughout my youth, I was able to enjoy the splendor of this marine bivalve in all its splendor. I look back at those times, and I keep looking back at those times. They were times, all right.
Hi, I'm Guy Fieri, and we're here on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. We're gonna go visit a little mom and pop cafe that's serving up some nice geoduck, local style. Let's go! Alright, welcome to Ooey Gooey's Clam Shack, where I've got John, the clam chef extraordinaire here, cooking up a storm. We're gonna get going cooking some geoducks. Come on over. Alright, well thanks for coming. I'm John. Nice to meet you. Now let's cook up some geoduck. Oh hey, my brother Jack. Well hey you guys. I just came over with the geoduck I caught from the harbor. Let's get eating, shall we? So we've been geoduck harvesters, this family, for, well, we've been doing it since the mid-1800s, when the locals from the Puget Sound area, the Coast Salish down there, taught us how to collect these giant clams out of the water. Now, this is the backbone of our economy here. This is the backbone, yeah. So, did you know that 17% of BC's fisheries GDP is made by wild harvesting of geoduck? Now, These bad boys go for $20 to $30 USD per pound. Now that's a pretty fair price, I do say. And we ship about 90% of all geoducks to China, overseas. So it's a fairly good export. Now, we like to keep our geoducks local, so we harvest only wild and sell them here at Ooey Gooey's Delicious Clam Shack. So let's go see what we're cooking over here now. Alright, now that is some fresh geoduck. Killer, buds. Absolutely killer.
What you are witnessing is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending the People's Court.
All right, welcome. I'd now like to ask the Council of the Underwater Harvesters Association to please take the stand. If it pleases the court, given that it's such an important market, it's really critical that we keep very stringent regulations on who gains access. And it's a market that requires great technical proficiency, so it's really not our fault that the First Nations don't have what it takes to get into it. Thank you. Order in the court! Thank you very much for your testimony. I would now like to call to the stand representatives for the nations, if you will. Thank you. You know, frankly, we are flabbergasted that we're here. My clients have an inherent right and a natural claim to access the resources of their traditional territories, of their haputli. And that extends to geoducks, not just geoducks, all of them. The 2009 right to fish should have given them access to geoducks, but yet again, we see the government deliberately impeding their access. And that we will not stand for. Thank you. We submit that the geoduck fishery is a modern fishery, and given that it requires high-tech equipment, the Nuu-chah-nulth Nation couldn't have engaged in it prior to European contact. We don't want to exclude the First Nations from access, but it's impossible for them to have harvested the geoduck in quantities sufficient for trade. Therefore, this is against Section 35, requiring the continuity of pre-contact practices. And as such, the respondents' Aboriginal rights do not extend to the geoduck fishery. Court is adjourned. Breaking news. We now go live to Donna outside the BC Supreme Courtroom as the Housing case has just reached its verdict and the courts have denied access to the geoduck commercial harvesting for the First Nations. We now go live to Donna. Thank you, Ryan. I'm here live with the head of DFO to get his opinion. Now, how do you feel about the court's decision to deny the appeal of the First Nations? Look, at the end of the day, we're just trying to take care of the environment and help people out. Really, we're just looking after the wild geoduck population, trying to keep them in check.
And why are the First Nations being excluded from this decision?
No comment. All right, that's very interesting. Now you heard it here first, folks. Back to you, Ryan. Now, thank you, Donna. And that's it for the news for tonight. Thank you very much, Bamfield. We'll see you later.